this is going to go out somewhere, and it might come out in court. Well, today we're in Nacogdoches, Texas, with a lot of customers that One-Way Diesel has done wrong. We've been texting, emailing, IMing, Facebooking, and now I'm meeting a lot of these people for the first time.
Super glad someone's taking charge on this.
First of all, before I get to give it to you, if you want to tell your story to this sergeant, we're going to also share this video with him. Right, Patrick, now how do you two know each other?
We don't. Through One-Way.
There seems to be a lot of good people here. Right next to him. Edgar?
Yes, sir.
Drop it down in the shirt.
You gonna wire me up, huh?
Yep.
I can't thank you enough. If any of us were alone on this, it would be tremendously difficult to do anything because, I mean, I've never been in a situation like this before.
I mean, it's over my head.
He's hit a whole lot of us. A lot of people aren't able to come forward.
We're just going to have a gathering and get the word out of what they've done to not only us, but to many others. It doesn't seem to be an accident. It seems to be very intentional.
But after Chase worked on it, it doesn't run.
And that's horrible. But what we can do is just be clear about what happened. Don't dramatize it or whatever, you know, but let's be accurate. I want to kill them with accuracy, okay? We're the ones with morals and integrity. Let's start off with the Russell family. But tell me what happened to you all, because I'd just like to hear the story.
Husband bought me a Ford Excursion 4x4 diesel, low miles. It was a surprise, you know, because I love to kayak and I could put my kayak on top and pull my little camper. And that's my thing that I really loved. And
that's your piece?
Yes. And it still doesn't have any miles on it. But after Chase worked on it, it doesn't run. He would not return it to me. He had it 18 months. And he kept coming up with excuses.
He liked pointing the fingers, didn't he?
Well, Chase told me. He said the whole problem with that vehicle is that your son took it out when he was young and wrecked it at night and did things to it. And but it didn't have wrecks on it.
He worked on it the first time, he did injectors on it, and it still didn't run properly after that, so she took it up to another local diesel shop and had it worked on. And they had fixed everything and it was working properly at the time, and then the transmission messed up. So it went up there to Chase's. I was working there at the time. Dropped it off up there, and it was there for 18 months before they finally started working on it.
Did they give you hugs when you came in?
Absolutely. They prayed with me, all kinds of things.
Tell you they love you?
Grab you up and, oh yes. Yeah, they're good. They're really manipulative. The best.
So, what's the interior like now?
Well, it all took a hit because it sat so long. You know, I mean, it's okay. I've conditioned it, but like all my the tint windows, all the peel, the trim has peeled from. It was never in the sun before. I always kept it under this carport.
Right.
I can't even test out the transmission they put in it because I can't keep it running long enough to try see if the transmission's running good. I really want to work on it. I do. Because it's my dream vehicle. There was a time that Chase and Tommy treated us well. When my husband was alive, he did a little bit of work and was really good. You know, we thought a lot of him when we trusted him.
Right. Well, maybe we can help you out because we just opened up another business and we're actually working on vehicles. We usually just put our parts on one of those and not just oil changes, but maybe we can help you out and see what we can get going. So we'll cross our fingers, but maybe we can take it up to Missouri and work on it.
You are more than welcome. You're more than welcome.
Tell me about this. What about invoices being handed out?
I wasn't really on the office side, but most of the time, for whatever I did see, it was mainly just take the truck up there and they'd write down on a ticket what needed to be done to it, they do it, and then they pay them cash or card. I don't know if they got receipts or not.
Okay, because I could not get an invoice.
Right. I never got any, and whenever I had stuff worked on previously from them either.
I could never get an invoice from them.
Right.
I came to One-Way Diesel thinking they were the experts. And I found out about them like everyone else through the show. For some background, I have a 79 Ford F-250 Ranger.
Okay.
I drove it every day for 10, 11 years and loved it to death. That truck was my everything. Finally, after years of prepping and building a spreadsheet apart, found one-way diesel, took it up there. When I went up there, he told me this would be the perfect candidate for the show. Sat out of the parking space right outside. He said he'd have a film crew ready to go. But when I got there, there was no film crew, which was a red flag in itself. He had these two guys working with him that filmed the drop-off on their iPhones. That was a little weird to me at first.
That is way weird.
And he said, well, the film crew doesn't come till late September, so we can use this for now and we can reshoot some stuff later if we need to, but we can probably use this as the drop-off. We went into detail. We filmed me coming in, going around the truck, telling them everything I wanted.
This is only about a month ago that when you and I spoke, when I was sitting out front and the truck had been there for like 2 weeks, he didn't have a show anymore.
I ended up learning that when I gave them a surprise visit when I started to get freaked out and went up there. And he was very secretive about everything. He was like, you can't tell anybody about this donor truck. You can't tell anybody what we're doing, that you're going to be on the show or anything. I'm like, oh, whatever. And they said, but we got something going with Netflix and we got big things coming, so don't worry about it. Basically what he was going to do, swap the body onto the F-250. He was going to boost it to about 600 horse, beef up the transmission, and build and redo the interior completely.
Did he write any of this down?
He gave me a quote. And I told him, I have a firm budget of $85,000. I can't go a penny over that.
What kind of time frame?
He gave me 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
This was the worst part. So he told me you had a 60% down requirement, which I've never done anything like this before. It took me months to get the loan out together to do this and get the finances together. Took out a loan, so I wrote him a $51,000 check.
Did you get an invoice for that? Did he give you any receipt?
I have a signed quote, but not a receipt for the down payment. But I do have the check, a copy of the check that I gave him though. I gave him that money, and then all of a sudden after that went dead silent, basically. I wrote him emails talking about requests and talking about what I wanted more specifically for the build. They never replied.
I'm sorry, man.
I kept calling him over and over, and all I heard was, oh, we'll call you back. Chase will call you back. I'll put it on his desk. He'll call you back. And I got the same sob stories you were talking about of, oh, he's had some family issues. He's got a lot going on right now. He just kept giving me the runaround. I called him 10 times over the next 5-6 months. Kept getting the runaround. He never called me back.
Oh, 5-6 months?
Yeah. And about a couple months in, I started to get pretty nervous, and like I had a lot going on at the time, so I kept I kept calling, checking up, same thing. Finally, I was about to go up there anyway and give him a surprise visit since they wouldn't call me back. And then my buddy sent me your video on TikTok that y'all posted. I went up there, recorded the conversation with him, and he was shocked to see me, and he came out and saw me that time almost immediately. He was like, Diego, brother, what's going on, man? And shook my hand and all that. And I basically asked him, what's going on? It was in the exact same parking space for 5 months with nothing done to it that I dropped it off at. Like, you would think they would at least move it out of the front of the building. I looked in the wheel well and there were cobwebs. Nothing was going on. He showed me the donor truck and said that they recently bought it. This is after he told me they already had it and had something ready to go and did filming on the truck already for my episode on the donor truck. And then he's trying to tell me that they're 9,500 into the donor truck now. I'm like, this thing's a piece of shit. He was lying on a lot of things. He was like, oh, we ordered all the parts. We got everything ready to go. We saved a couple months doing that. I'm like, can you show me some of the receipts of the parts you ordered? And he wouldn't do that. I was like, all right, don't do anything to the truck. Just wait for the TV to come back to you, and then we'll talk. And then the next week, I got my buddy to drive me up there so I could go get my truck back. When I went and got my truck back, that's when he wouldn't come out. He wouldn't say anything to me. I was like, look, I'm not leaving until I talk to Chase, and this is bullshit, because I gave you $51,000. You've done nothing with my money. You won't even show me the parts you ordered. So he kept coming out and being like, well, your deposit's non-refundable. And I kept going back, you didn't do anything. And even if you said it isn't or whatever, you won't even show me the parts you ordered, which you said you ordered, and I would be entitled to if you didn't want to give me a refund, you know? And so
he told you that?
yes. And he kept being like, oh, your deposit's non-refundable. And I kept making him go back to Chase.
And you have a recording of this?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And then I kept making him go back to Chase 5 or 6 times because I knew Chase was in the back because he told me. And I'm like, look, I'm not leaving until I talk to Chase about this. He was like, oh, Chase can't talk to you right now because of legal reasons. I'm like, what about my refund? They're like, oh, we're not going to give you any money today. We'll talk about it. I'm like, okay, give me a list of parts that you ordered. And then we can talk about something. I'm a reasonable guy. I'll work with you here. His minion shook my hand, and he was like, I'll get it to you Monday. I promise you, brother. And then shook my hand. Never got anything. So went outside. He told me I could take my truck in the donor truck, but I didn't take the donor truck, so I didn't want him to screw me and say, oh, that donor truck's worth $50,000.
That was a smart move, by the way, in my book.
And tried to start my truck. Truck wouldn't start. When I even though I drove it up there. Luckily, another one of their customers was there. There was a tow truck driver, so he was like, oh, I'll give you the tow to the gas station across the street for free. So after an hour of trying to start it, spraying starting fluid on it, nothing wouldn't crank up. So I got it towed across the street, waited for AAA for 3 hours at that gas station, kept calling them, nothing happened. So finally I called a local tow company and then just had them tow it to a shop nearby. And when the tow truck driver came and picked up my truck, he said,
oh no,
another victim, huh? And then I was like, are you kidding me? He was like, well, I just went and picked up the Little Red Express yesterday, and we had to get the sheriff out there to release the truck because they wouldn't give it to him. They made a fake bill for him.
Jason, what's your last name?
Hobson.
Hobson?
Yes, sir.
When did all this start?
I've been dealing with them, I know of, since 2019.
And it continued on until
2023. That's my second gen over there that they worked on.
Okay.
I've had it since I was 16. I'm 29 now. My grandpa had it before me. He bought it in 03 with 20,000 miles.
Okay.
And never had problems with it up until I took it to their shop. Started off with a torque converter, then went to overdrive.
What did you take it in for?
Torque converter messed up. I've been through like 3 or 4 torque converters that they put in. I had to go up there myself and pull off my overdrive to see if it was messed up.
Okay.
This last time was, I know for a fact in 2019, I took it up there for a 6-speed swap. It sat up there till last year.
Did you give him any money down?
$6,000.
Okay.
And I gave him maybe half of it up front.
Okay.
And then that was in 2019. They never started working on it other than pulling my old transmission out. And it sat there up until last year because I started going up there with the trailer to load it up, and they'd come outside cussing and telling me I can't be just going out there on their property without permission. And
where was it on their property? Was it out front or out back?
it was out back, parked in the very, very back. My tires were off the rim. My windshield got busted. My programmer got stolen out of it. Someone stole my headlight bulbs.
They stole the bulbs?
Yes, the bulbs. Not the housing and everything, just the bulbs.
So they have their own salvage yard, customer vehicles back there. Okay.
You say something to them, oh, COVID, or just excuse after excuse, 24/7, every single time.
Problems with their phones?
Problems with their phones. I still have most of the messages since 2019, and if you go through them, you'll see all my calls where he never answered, me texting him all the time, and I've always been pretty polite to him, but it's just, I finally got tired of it, so I went up there to pick it up one day.
With the trailer?
With the trailer. He talked me into leaving it there, said he'll have it done in a month or 2. So I left it. Well, months go by. They finally start working on it. He sent me a picture of it, and I get it back with a 6-speed swap. Well, I drove it from their shop to Nacogdoches High School, which seemed like 10 miles. Broke down. Colton had to come pull me back to my house. Got to looking, there was no oil in the transmission.
You serious?
It was supposed to be a fresh rebuild. Every gear grinds, pops out of gear. My transfer case pops out of gear.
That's sad because, you know, I know we love our vehicles and you take it to them thinking that it's going to be built, you know, built right, and, you know, you come out with more power, you know, you come out with the 6-speed.
I'm not sure what they put in that truck, but it's not right. It's definitely not a fresh rebuild. I don't have a single receipt. Since I paid him cash, he didn't want to give me receipts.
I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Patrick Sharp.
Brad Exton.
Hey, Brad. I'm familiar with these guys from the TV show, obviously.
Right.
And then I do a lot of traveling, so up and down 59, I've seen how their growth's come along in the last few years. I have a 2014 F-250. An injector had gone out.
How long ago was this?
This was last December's when the truck went down.
So of 23?
Of 23.
Okay.
So I went in there and around this first week, second week of December, and said, hey, would y'all be interested in putting a new motor in there for me? Would you guys be interested in doing it? I said, yeah, sure, but you know, it's gonna be probably after Christmas before we can take it, and probably be a couple more weeks before we can start, you know? Probably looking at middle of January before we can start.
That sounded fair, didn't it?
Yeah, that's no problem. I said, sure. The truck was absolutely perfect, exterior and interior. Not a dent or scratch on it.
Okay.
January the 4th, I write him a check. First off, I strike a deal with Tommy. I said, Tommy, how much are we looking at? Long block. I said, obviously it's going to have some injectors. You know, my fuel rail's good. How much you do this for? He said, $16,000 out the door.
Okay.
He said, but we do require half down. I said, you know, I can understand that. You're going to have to buy the parts. Wrote him a check right then. Boom. Cleared 3 days later.
Did you get an invoice?
I got an estimate.
Right.
I do have an estimate and attached.
Did you ever get an invoice?
I never got an
didn't think
invoice,
so.
but I got an estimate. So I called him like 2 weeks later. Well, y'all got it in yet? Started on it? Because you said you can start on it in a couple of weeks. No, we're really backed up. We got some things going on. So another week or so, we'll get it in there. So I called a couple of weeks later. Then we start getting crickets. Nobody's around. Well, Tommy's tied up. He's back in the shop, and you know Chase, he's out on doing something. He's out in the field doing something. So
What prevented you from stopping in, just saying hello?
Well, let me tell you.
All right.
At first, the gate was open always. Then they started closing the gate and locking the gate. You had to go through the little passcode to get in.
That's a red flag, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You lock people out of your public business. I mean, that rocked on for about 6 months, and finally I had enough. So I drove down there, just made them let me in. Miraculously enough, my truck's in there on the lift. Don't know it's on the lift because they wouldn't let me back there. But my truck's inside, it's on the lift supposedly. But we're having trouble getting a long block for it. And because of the backlash from COVID and everything else, you know, we just can't get parts. I said, okay. I said, so what's our backup plan? What are we gonna do? He said, well, you really can't tell anybody, but we have another famous drag racer in the shop right now. He's got a truck just like yours. He said, we're having an engine built in California. He said, we're actually gonna have 2 built. We're gonna have 1 built for him. That's a long block, complete engine. I'm gonna go ahead and build you one just like it. I said, well, that sounds pretty good. I don't know this guy, but I know who he is. They just, you know, they're name dropping, so of course I know who he is. I said, well, I'd be interested in doing that. He said, but you're gonna have to have a upgraded fuel rail, and you're gonna have to have a little larger injectors, and we need to increase the size of your turbocharger as well to accommodate this higher horsepower engine. So it's not gonna be cheap. We call it not cheap. It's probably gonna be around $8,000. This is probably June, after being there for 6 months. So a month later, I called back after not hearing anything. Well, this long block, it fell through in California too. Said, you know, we're having some issues They just won't ship us anything. Okay, so what's our next plan? Well, we're gonna go back to a factory Ford long block. So okay. I said, all right, how quick can you have it done? He said, 2 weeks we'll have it all buttoned up. Tommy stopped answering the phones. After Jared got involved, I couldn't get any feedback. I guess about 3 months ago, I get some negative feedback from one of my family members, that's friend of one of the customers. They won't answer the phone, but I'm getting texts from Jared. He said, he's texted me, he said, well, what we've decided to do, since we can't get the long block, we're gonna put a factory Ford short block. This isn't what I agreed to.
No, not at all.
This isn't what I'd paid for. If it comes to my mind, I'm on the phone, I'm wearing their ears out. They end up putting a short block, new Ford short block in it.
Do you know that
It's a
on the
later
new?
model. I do not know
Okay.
that, but I'm going to find that out. I ended up paying almost $22,000 for a short
used-
block,
Yeah,
a new short block
with used parts.
with used parts and remanufactured injectors. They just wore me down and beat me down on time to where I felt like
Just take anything.
I was at their mercy, and I basically was held hostage. When I went to pick my truck up, they handed me my keys across the counter. Nobody came out with me to walk it around, look it over, crank it. I didn't even know if the truck would run when I got to the parking lot.
Edgar?
Yes, sir.
He painted Chase's house.
So he sold the trailer to his brother, and that's when I went over there, and he said, "Can you paint my house?" And I said, "Let's go look at it." So I gave him a price at like $45,000, and then he said, "We can build your truck. We can build your truck, brother." When I met him, I went over there because my work truck, it was leaking diesel through one of the lines. So I took it over there.
What kind of
It's a
truck?
2002 Ford 250.
Okay,
Stayed there for a month, I think.
okay.
And then I went and pick it up. He says, ready. He charged me like $600. I went to my job and it started leaking again. He cut the pipe and then he put an air hose with the clamps on the ends. And with the pressure, he blew that. So I called him and then he said, "Oh, just bring it back." So I had to get somebody to put another line over there. I brought the line and said, "Here's your line. You charged me for a new line. And look at it. You just..."
Did you actually get an invoice from them?
They never give you one. They always said, "I'll give it to you tomorrow, brother." They steal the batteries from my truck too. Because my batteries, they were from O'Reilly's.
Okay.
And I have problems with my batteries, so I go to O'Reilly's and they say, "You got AC batteries. We don't sell those batteries." I'm like, "What?"
Now, when did you paint it?
It was in 2017. Yeah, I said, "It's like 45,000. I said, "You think you want to pay me that much money?" And then he said, "We build your truck." I said, "What kind of truck?" I said, "The truck you wanted." I said, "Okay, but tell me details. What's building, for you?" And then he said, "Well, what kind of truck you like?" I said, "I like Fords." And then they start getting a Dodge. I said, "Okay, I want a mega cab and with the new, they start saying new engine, new transmission. Like a new truck."
Right.
And they said, "You don't even have to pay for the title. The title is going to be in your name at the end. We're not going to give you money, and we're not going to give you money for the paint job." I started on the job, and when I was in the middle of the job, I asked Chase, I said, "Hey, Chase, I don't see you working on my engine, on my truck." I said, "What's going on?" And then he said, "Oh, yeah, I'm working. So maybe about a week before I finished the house, I asked him, I said, "Where's the truck that you say you're going to build for me? I'm almost done with the job, and I don't see nothing." And then he said, "Do you like that truck?" I'm like, in my mind, no shit. I didn't like it, but I said, if I don't take it,
Yeah,
I said-
they wear you down
yeah.
like that.
I said, if I don't take it, I said, he's going to,
That's what they did to you.
yes. So I said, yeah, I guess I'll take it. Whenever I finish the job, I said, okay, I'm taking the truck right now. And then he said, "We cannot find the title." I said, "Come back and get it whenever we get the title." I said, "No, I'll take the truck right now. You give me the title later." And I called him several times, messaged him, and I think maybe 6 months later, he said, "Oh, we found the title." So I go over there. The title is in somebody else's name, but it's not signed. I need the title signed. And he said, sign it yourself. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. So I said, here's the title, find that person and sign the title and give it to me. After that, he didn't want to give me the title. The truck stayed in my house parked maybe 3 years. But before that, I asked him for tags, license plates, you know, because I wanted to drive it. And he gave me paper license plates, you know, for a month. And he only gave me...
The temp tags?
Yes, he only gave me 3 times, and then he said, no more. And I'm like, what? So give me the title so I can go to the courthouse and get the...
Right.
He didn't want to do that, so I started calling him, and I guess he blocked me or whatever. I go to the shop, but he's not here. So then I met one of my friends, and then he said, why don't we take it to Tyler to the DPS or something, where they can check it and everything. They tell you if it's stolen or not. They said, you're gonna have to get a bond for that truck, and that's how I ended up getting the title on that truck, you know. But whenever they said the bond, it was valued for $12,000. So I was calling him, hey, it's only $12,000 on the truck, and it's $45,000 job, and I never got an answer back.
So how much time did you spend on their house?
I think about a month.
I got a Ford sitting at the house. It still don't run right.
When did your story start?
3, maybe 4 years ago. Took it over there and it was a running truck, 6.0, power stroke in it.
Okay.
I said, I've been looking, and I seen I want a 12 valve in it.
So you want a Foreman's?
Yes. And so, we can do that. We'll build you a motor for your motor, which I had 103,000 miles on my truck.
What year was it?
06.
Okay.
And the deal was, I buy the adapter and the torque converter, and we have everything else to finish it. And I said, okay, I want everything works on it. Cruise, everything works on it. You know,
what did they say the job was going to cost?
They didn't say. That's what they told me, that we'll take your motor, since it's a good 6.0, and we'll build you a motor. They never did give me a price on a motor, and I was a machinist. That's all I did all my life. And they said, can you make this part some kind of, which I have them in my toolbox at home since I retired. I went on, and then finally I told them, I said, hey, I need my damn truck.
How long did it go on for?
It went on for about 3 years. And then I come find out that the people, and they were supposed to make some motor mounts, the people that makes the motor mounts and adapter, they gave it to them because they were showing their, their business. We're using this adapter, these motor mounts. So it didn't cost them nothing for that. So I was out the adapter plate, and then, torque converter. And I don't even know if that's the true torque converter that they showed me is put in that thing, because I have a little Hyundai Sonata that it would outrun that truck when I pulled it from their place. And coming to find out, it's a used 12 valve. It's not a rebuilt 12 valve in it. When you put a 12 valve in it, to me, you would use a Dodge alternator in it. You don't put a Chevrolet alternator in there. He said, because of the wiring. I said, I thought you were supposed to redo the engine harness. Well, yeah, but you got to use it. I said, bull crap. I said, this is a bunch of bull crap. And the cruise ain't hooked up. It doesn't have a cruise cable. It did when it went over there. It doesn't have that, so the cruise don't work. And I don't trust everything that's underneath there. So I wouldn't take a bicycle over there, my opinion.
Well, let's start from the beginning.
Well, from the beginning, I had a totally restored, the old yellow Power Wagon. Totally restored, 35,000, went and got it. Loved it, but it wasn't fun to drive. We got it in New Jersey from, he was either a retired cop or a retired fireman that had restored it. Chase had a motor, he was in a bind. Before I took the yellow truck down there, he had a Cummins engine, he said he got burned on. He had rebuilt, totally rebuilt, he was ready to go, $5,000. I gave him $2,000, I left, I turned around and went back. I said, somebody get that motor. So I turned around and went back and gave him the rest of the money in a check.
Did you ever get an invoice for anything?
Never got an invoice for nothing.
And we've asked.
We've asked for paperwork on the double
times.
cab and stuff to get it legal. And, oh yeah, I got it, and I'll get it right to you.
Right.
Never got it. He called me, we had an $80,000 budget to start with. And so they said, we're gonna have our own TV show. We're gonna put it on our show. I said, I don't care about a TV show. All I care about is hauling my kids to Dairy Queen, get ice cream. We want to enjoy a little bit in life. And anyway, I said, but that's fine. If you want to use it, it'll help y'all get a leg up. That's whatever y'all want, you know. So I said, I'd really like to make it a double cab. And Tommy on the show made it seem like it was his idea, you know, but that's fine. That's all TV. Justin, the producer of that show, said, we don't have time for a double cab, you know. But Tommy called, he said, I got it. We got one, if you got $50,000. I was working day and night on it, and I said, I will make it happen. I took him $50,000 check the next day. So really, all was used on my yellow truck was the front clip. So I told him, take the rest of it and do a truck for my son.
Picked out the color, even the interior. It was going to be blue with white interior.
For my son, I'll have the double cab, he'll have the reverse black and white.
And we're going to surprise him.
All this time they asked, hey man, we can't make payroll. So I'd write them another
Heard
check.
that one. They got another
They
20.
come and got it one time.
Even
They came
sent
to
their
our
daughter up there to pick it up one
Got
time.
it,
They was
yeah.
in such a bind.
That's interesting because I served them, and they're going to have to appear in Missouri, and they're saying that I contracted their daughter to come up. So I appreciate that statement that they sent her to do the errands. So I need more of that. Thank you.
And she came and got the check and visited a few minutes and took it back to them. But
And we have it in text message too. The gate code, give them the gate code.
Did you pay her anything for coming up?
no. And I went in there one day. Chaser's had his truck motor all tore apart right beside my truck. I told him, I said, hey Chase, I said, you can't put your personal stuff ahead of your customers. You won't be in business very long. Oh, I don't do that, Mr. James. I said, well, I see your truck fixed and running, and mine's still the same way, you know. They had the yellow truck, then we bought the double cab, and they turned it so they had two trucks there already.
So you had 80 and 50,000, right?
Yes, and 50,000 for the cab. I went over on the white truck another $47,000.
Okay.
I said just helping them, you know, pay it.
Well, they needed it for paint.
Payroll or pay the bills or whatever. I said, just put it on the next bill. Put it on Briar's truck or whatever. And they said, man, we need to do something for, we'll do it on the next show. And then he said, well, I said, well, we may I got a Peterbilt. We may make a car hauler out of it, make it match the power wagon.
That'd be cool.
That was my idea, yeah.
And so I took my Peterbilt down there and parked it. So now I got 3 trucks down there. We keep talking and stuff. I said, I got this other 46, 40, I thought it was a 48. Chase said it was a 46 power wagon. It's complete, but it don't run. I said, if you need any parts off of it to fix Briar's, oh yeah, we could use the front clip or whatever, just bring it down there. And I told them, I said, you can have the spoils when you're through. I don't care, you know. You can have the spoils when you're done with my trucks. But instead, they give me a pile of shit, excuse my French, with the white power wagon. They on YouTube and blowing smoke in their yard, promoting themselves. That thing has got 850 horses. If that was the truth, I wouldn't be sitting here today. And she wouldn't be breathing down my neck for the last 5 years, you know, because I'd have got what I paid for. But I didn't even get close. The truck, the first time we took it out, we went up to the restaurant with Tommy and his wife, Miss Wells, and it ran hot before we got to the restaurant right there at Nacogdoches.
That's the first time we got to get in it.
And then
You just
when
want to be seen
we
with
left
you.
the restaurant that night, it didn't make it out of town. It made it to the Tractor Supply there, and
Run real hot.
Chase came up and said he would get it fixed. The fan is shorted out. the wiring is a disaster on it.
Was it his truck? Was they in his truck when they come and rescued us?
I don't remember.
Okay, that would be very important to remember because we're trying to identify 5,000 miles because we do know they use customer trucks for personal and business errands.
Swear, I bet you it was your truck.
They said we're going to SEMA, you know, with the white truck. It's going to SEMA. And so I was working down that way. So I whooped in there, and it's a week before
They
SEMA.
would never tell us anything where we were going.
They called Colton Russell and them in to help them get it stuff ready for SEMA. Whenever I went around to the paint booth, Mr. Eddie,
I was going to ask if he just skipped the front door and just went, because that's what I did.
back then I could. It wasn't no problem. Just come on back, grab you a wrench and get to work. It wasn't no big deal. Whatever they was working on, heck, I've used a tractor to unload stuff for them and such, you know. But it's, you know, when I got around there, a week before SEMA, they promised in this, they wasn't worried about nothing but the Lambo, their stuff. Mr. Eddie and Colton Russell, Colton put the injectors back in. They couldn't find my injectors. I don't know why the injectors motor was tore down when it was supposed to be ready to go. But they had the rear end out from under it, the front end out from under it. The bed was off of it, the fuel tank was out of it. And
That's when I got to thinking that it wasn't supposed to go to SEMA.
So Becky got a hold of Venom tire. And
Through their
found out,
website.
yes, we do have a spot for y'all. We made a spot for y'all. She said, that's all I need to know. James will make it happen whatever he's got to do. So I spent the night down there in my RV, work on till they couldn't hold their eyes open and stuff, and the other guys would stay late and went ahead and help bolt it back together. Still wasn't no horsepower.
There, Roman and all them with Venom Tower seeing how bad it was.
You would have to pump the brakes to get any brakes to stop. And we had to drive this into the warehouse at SEMA like this. Tow it up, pump it up, tow it up, because the brake pedal would stick.
The window wouldn't roll up.
After your deal come up and everything, we called them, texted them and told them we was picking the yellow truck up October the 4th. I done picked up the Peterbilt after we got back from SEMA. I went ahead and got it because I knew it'd drive out. But they had these other three down, you know, the yellow one and the 46. And I told them they wasn't going to keep the double cab no more, but I did let them keep it a few times, but they never did fix nothing. We told Tommy we're picking this up October the 4th. Tommy called back, he said, when is October the 4th? That's a week from tomorrow, Tommy. He said, have you been talking to Brad? I said, Brad who?
We hadn't talked to, we didn't know Brad.
He didn't say nothing, so I put two and two together. I said, Brad with FASS? He said, yeah. I said, no, I haven't talked to Brad. And he said, okay. He said, the truck will be ready. All we like is bleeding the brakes or something like that. Becky, I told her, I said, you're not going with me. I'm not going to cause a scene. I'll go down there and drag it up on a trailer or whatever. But I told them 8 days prior, have all our stuff in the front of the shop.
Now that's the pictures that you have of it being forklift on your trailer.
Yes, we had to go down there and pick it up. I get down there and they have stole the gauges, the spotlights, the windshields, the antique windshields, everything off of that, just a stripped cab. Stripped cab.
There's the inside.
I give them a 94 Dodge Cummins 4-wheel drive. All they had to do was take that yellow cab and put over on that 94. They didn't have to build no 4-link or nothing. Just put that over on there and we would have walked away bought lesson, you know. And they couldn't even do that. They stripped. I didn't get a transfer case back on 3 trucks. Not a transfer. No PTOs. The 94 didn't have it had been stripped down. I got part of the Cummins engine, a part of it. I got a transmission, and Tommy brought me out I think he said Suncoast torque converter or something. I didn't think nothing about none of it. Got to the house, reached there and get a hold of the transmission shaft. I don't think you could turn it with a 24 pipe wrench.
They're getting away with it. I mean, how do they get away with it?
I don't know. I have a fighter attitude in me. I do. I have a fighter attitude, and when I'm done way wrong, I usually give the benefit of a doubt to the opposing party because I can give some. But when you keep giving and giving and giving, and then you keep getting ran over and ran over.
When you back the little boy in the corner and the tears come out, you get out of the way.
Yep.
They could have done it right, made money. They chose not to, but then they turn around and the other 48, Jake says the 46, I got back the bed and the front fenders. So they've kept a whole enough stuff with the windows and stuff out of my cab, my yellow cab, that they can build them another original power wagon. On top of getting overpaid and stealing that, then
I mean, you're hearing all these
I
stories
talked with
now.
Matt Tisdale of Tisdale Coach, and he said they're bringing me, they're buying one of the, he makes a wider cab too. He's been doing this for 20-something years, I think. He makes a wider coach so it's more comfortable. It looks the same, but it's wider, bigger. And he said they're $80,000. He said they're coming to get one. They paid $15,000 down. He said they're going to do a little airtime in my shop, which I don't need, but it'd be cool to have some of my hard work aired and filmed, you know. He said, and I'm giving them a $20,000 discount because they bring in me all your old PTO four-wheel drive parts. So that's why I didn't get my stuff back. I would be scared to use God in such a way that, you know, I'm afraid I wouldn't wake up in the morning.